So I told you all summer about my problems with this pond and having to keep it full with my well because we just had such a dry summer. Fixed the dam over here about 18 months ago or so, about a year and a half ago. And that is great. That's doing great. I don't expect any trouble out of that for the rest of my lifetime anyway, hopefully, unless I just live a dadgum long time. But I've just had a problem with it going down because the pond is not spring fed. Any water that it gets has to come from upstream or uphill, I guess you'd say. So, but I've got a little water trickling in it now, and let me show you where it's coming from first, and then what I did to access that water, to manipulate things to where I'm getting the water in the pond. All right, so we're riding right now in the golf cart. The pond is behind us, and basically the only way I get water is just from runoff. I mean, the pond is a low place, so I get any rain that falls on my property. I do get water in the pond, but it has to be, a bunch. If I get an inch of rain, the pond comes up an inch, basically. Maybe a little more than that because of the runoff, but not much. Any significant water I get is going to come from upstream. The water comes through here. I think you can see the creek right there. Kind of grown up, but I think you can kind of see it. We'll get a little closer. Now, I noticed the other day, came down here and noticed the other day that the creek has water in it. We got some rain, and I said, well, maybe the little old creek has some water in it, and it does. And then I noticed it was actually running a little bit, and you can see, I don't know whether you can see that or not. You can zoom in a little bit. As you can see, it's running ever so slightly. Well, it's really not slightly, it's running pretty good. So where it's coming from is that big bank right there you see is a dam. And it's the dam on the property. That's the property to the south of me, just uphill from me. So the water is not coming around the spillway. That's the spillway right there. And it's just not coming. I can't see any water in the creek that comes off his spillway. Big dam right here, and then on either side of the dam, on that side and on this side, there's a place where it runs around when it gets full. So, one would think that's where the water's coming from, but it's really not, because it's not that full enough to come around the spillway. What's happening is his dam has a leak in it, and because of that, I am getting all this water coming out of his pond. As far as I can see, as far as I can tell, this is strictly his dam leaking. And so I'm getting all this water leak from around the dam. I told him, he's only lived here a couple of years, and I told him he had a leak in the dam. And I didn't really tell him he ought to fix it because it's the only way I get any water till it gets plumb full. So anyway, so let me show you. So we do have water running. This fence is our property line. This fence line is our property line. So that's his property, and that's the water coming off his dam. Big, nice dam here. But the water's running around. Then it comes through the fence here on my property, onto my property, and then starts meandering its way up to my pond. Let me show you what I did to help the meandering of this thing. So I noticed the water was coming through here and was stopping about right here. We're still 50, 60 yards away from my pond. And I noticed it was just kind of stopping here and was not going into the pond. I was having zero water coming into my pond. So it came down to about right here, and then it started backing up. This was a high place right in here. So I came in here with a middle buster and just tore me a trench dug me a trench from the pond all the way up here to where the water had originally stopped, and all the way up to where it kind of stopped in this little slough right here, which is pretty small, but it was backing up. What it was doing was backing up and going up in here, and there's a low place down here where my tractor tires made a couple of big ruts, and those were filling up. So I knew the water was getting down here. I just didn't, it was not getting to the pond because there was just, I think right in here, there's just kind of a high place before it goes down into the pond. So I just came in here and cut it out with that metal buster, and we got water. I didn't get a video of me actually doing the work, but this is a middle buster, and that's what I used to do the finagling of the water, the manipulation to get the water in my pond. We're still about 30 yards from the pond. The trench I cut is about 30 yards or so, but as you can see, got a nice little trickle, nice little flow of water here. And then I just dug it out. I started here at the pond. This is where I started, and just started dragging this way, started plowing this way, and it's going in. It's not raising it much because it's not very much of a trickle, and that's you know, once you start putting water in a pond, it takes quite a bit. We'll get a huge rain here one of these days, and it'll fill up, and it'll fill up pretty quick. But anyway, just thought I'd share with you, if you've got any kind of water source around you, if you can get out there and manipulate it, dig a little trench, put in a swale, put in a bank, and bank something up to manipulate it and alter the course of that water toward your pond or your creek or whatever, it might be well worth doing. So think about it. We're getting water in the pond now. It's doing several things. Hopefully some little fish are coming in here, some little minnows and stuff. I've been feeding the fish all summer long because they just didn't have any I never saw any small fish, small minnows and stuff in here. Everything was big, and I think it's because they just ate all the small stuff because there just wasn't anything else to eat. So I've been feeding them, but once this starts flowing good, once it gets full, I'm pretty much through feeding them because I'll get minnows from upstream here. Minnows and smaller fish and stuff, that's where these fish came from. That's in it was from upstream. So, because I stocked it years ago and then it went dry, and so I hadn't stocked it since. So everything, all the fish in here has either come from upstream or from birds landing in here, cranes and stuff landing in here and pooping out some fish eggs that they ate, and that'll work too. That'll plant you some fish too. But anyway, just thought you might want to see how I just reversed the course of nature here, and just helped her out. She knew she wanted to come in here, and I just helped her out a little bit. Good for me. Good for my pond. All right, dadgummit. We got water coming in now. We're happy, and we're gone.